All right, guys, welcome to Submission Radio Morning After. It is, in fact, the morning after as I join you here around 7 in the morning, Melbourne time on a cold morning. It's been a huge weekend. I'm a little bit sick, but this lineup today is extra sick, fully sick, as my Wog brothers would say here in Melbourne, Australia. As we get started here on another episode, I want to introduce some guests right off the bat. Not guests, hosts, friends, people that have been in this industry, legends, people that have been in this industry for a long, long time. The first I want to speak about is a man behind the scenes that I speak to frequently. He's always someone whose opinion I respect, always someone who's been pivotal in all sorts of iconic parts of this game. Now he is with Uncrowned, doing all sorts of incredible work, including the boys in the back and producing some of the best shows out there. My buddy, New York Rick.
Hello, my
friend. Welcome to Submission Radio. Great to have you back. Second appearance.
Last time at the hotel in Pennsylvania, this time in my messy bedroom. I always bring my best to you, and I appreciate you for having me on.
Hey, man, wherever you're at, if I can get you for a little bit, it's always a big deal to me. Thanks for joining me. Look at this. Straight away, LFG people are excited. And I'm excited too because this next guest right here, again, has been killing it for such a long time. Killing it for MMA Junkie, killing it during Fight Week. He's getting ready to get out there for UFC 316. The stats are there. And Mike Bohn is in the house to break it all down. The bonfire. Let's stoke that fire, man.
What up? Thank you for having me back. Excited to be here. I think my second appearance as well. So we're me and Rick are keeping an even score now.
You know what I love about this? Like the comments are starting to heat up a little bit. Second comment, coming to Australia in July. Where's the best spot for all the loose MILFs? What kind of show do you think we're doing? Now, I'll tell you guys. I'll send you a message directly, Dodgy Hodgy. I have all the spots for you. All right, so it is going down here at MMA World. And, of course, UFC 316 is coming up. And, by the way, a little bit later in the show, Megan Olivi is going to pop on for 10 minutes. She'll give us a bit of a lowdown from yesterday and also give her feel for the big main event, UFC 316 this coming weekend. But, and by the way, later on in the show, I forgot the shit host. Sorry, guys. Later on in the show, the big moment, basketball movies top 3. Obviously, yesterday, New York Knicks lost to the Pacers, got absolutely slapped around like a little brother in the second bedroom at 3 p.m. before supper. And now we're going to talk about our favorite movies of all time. I was shocked to find out New York Rick does not go for the New York Knicks. He goes for the Cavs. Shocked.
Do you go for the Pacers? You seemed very elated for that beatdown on the Knicks.
I go for the Boston Celtics, but you know how this thing. You know
so
how this thing goes.
Revenge. That's a bit of revenge.
You know how this thing goes,
don't you
baby.
For the Celtics also?
I do. I had a little Raptors stint then, but now they suck. So we'll see if they can bring me back.
All you Canadians did this little we're gonna root for the Raptors thing, even though that's not our main team.
Well, I moved here, so and then I covered them for 10 straight seasons. But I think this year was the least games I ever went to in a season because busy and also they're bad. So.
And by the way, Boston Celtics, what an embarrassment, right? We were supposed to be in the chat. We'll talk about this later, but we're going to talk about the main movies as well. Best 3 basketball movies of all time, and also a couple of the worst ones as well. I found this list interesting to put together, and I found people when I told them we were doing this list, they were flipping out, right? So the pressure is on us boys because the boys in my personal life chat are going to come at me if we don't get this right. But let's talk about something that didn't go right yesterday for the UFC. And that is a terrible Apex card that was never really going to draw many people to begin with. Absolutely went pear-shaped as the main event got canceled basically right before it was supposed to happen. After another trademark Gamrot win, which, say what you will about that, but that's not going to sell pay-per-views, and this thing was free on TV. New York Rick, is this card now really in contention for one of the worst UFC cards of all time? It's hard not to put it in that list, right?
No, because how many times do we ask that? I feel like we ask that every other week at this point. Every time there's a new Apex show. To me, the low bar has already been crossed. The floor for a UFC show is basement level, and I don't really care to do the dissection of which is the absolute worst. There's a lot of trash that's happening right now. I'm more looking forward to the high points, right? I feel like the high points are fewer and further between. The low points come so frequently, I just can't even do the debate. The high points are so easy to spot now. This June that's coming up for the UFC is absolutely fantastic. 2 pay-per-views, 2 fight nights that are not at the Apex. I'm so ready for this thing to ramp into gear. It feels like the UFC almost took the first half of the year off, if I'm being completely honest. And now this thing is going to finally hit stride. You hit June, you hit July, you hit August when we've got Hamza versus DDP. The high points are what I kind of like use as markers, much more so than the low points. Was it the worst ever? I don't know. There's so many that I could call that, and so many that I've kind of erased from memory. But it wasn't great. It was not great. And to lose the main event is certainly like the bad taste left in your mouth at the end of the night.
I'll tell you what doesn't leave a bad taste. $2. Someone to say, New York Rick the GOAT. Come on, Rick. Come on. The guy had his school reunion last night, so I can feel like he's
Shout
still...
out.
He's still feeling sentimental after that. But Mike, come on. Main event doesn't come out of the tunnel, like in a card that's already terrible. And imagine like you tuned in, you're like, you know what? Screw everybody, man. Like they don't know what they're talking about. This main event's gonna rock. And you're just done watching that Gamrot performance, and then like, you know what? Actually, it's not gonna happen. Surely this has to be like some kind of shit stain on the history of the UFC, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think I agree with Rick. And it's like there's too much to disseminate at this point. But I'm sure there was a worse Apex card, like if you broke it down fight by fight and all the action and stuff. But yeah, how could you think of a worse scenario? Like this has happened before. Derek Lewis, I think, pulled out of a fight that was headlining the Apex, but like that happened start of the main card, 1 or 2 fights in. This was literally
right?
The closest we've had to this was that
Yeah.
Chad Skelly fight where his opponent fell. He was literally in the cage. But yeah, this is crazy, and I'm still really curious how all this happened, and was she actually in the tunnel walking out? Because surely if she was, there's got to be footage of this whole incident happening somewhere. The UFC has cameras on you nonstop from the moment you walk in the arena if you're a headliner.
Someone, a big fan of the Bonfire Pod, a great show that you do. Oscar Willis in the chat. Great to have celebrities in the chat. We lived through Jessica Ivers, Cynthia Calvillo. We did live through that. I mean, maybe this wouldn't have been the greatest fight either, but yeah, this is going to be crazy. Just quickly, New York Rick, what are we doing here? We're just moving on with Blanchfield. We're going to see what happens with Barber. What's the move here?
You do Blanchfield versus Natalia Silva, and you get a rightful #1 contender while Zhang Weili resolves her Valentina Shevchenko dispute, and then the winner of that fights the winner of Zhang versus Shevchenko. And Barber, like, you just got to get healthy, and when you're healthy, you get back in there against a contender. But don't blame Erin Blanchfield for saying she does not want to fight Maycee Barber. She, in fact, to the point that she called out ahead of the fight, hey, if she makes it to the fight, and it proved prescient because she did not make it to the fight. So if I'm Blanchfield, if I'm on the outside, I understand why Blanchfield would not want to give her another opportunity. Count it as a win. She got her money from the UFC, seemingly according to her reps. Fight Natalia Silva, become the #1 contender.
I just love the idea that someone in the UFC room would have been like, hey, guys, are we really going with this as the main event of this card? Like, are we sure we want to do this? And someone was in that room going, nah, man, this will be the fight. Trust me. It won't get the numbers, but, like, this will be the fight that's going to do it for the division. Like, I know that conversation happened. You guys know that conversation happened. There was someone in there going, statistically, this many people know this many people are tuning in for that fight. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? And then someone's like, no, we have to do that. And now that person is like walking to the car park with like a big box and like their trophy and a little plaque, maybe a ham. And this is what's going on. Hey, just quickly, Gamrot, Mike Bohn, signature win for Gamrot. He didn't get Armin. The division right now is pretty stacked. What are we doing with Gamrot next? Like, who do you give him next? Does he just keep fighting whoever's available, or are we giving him a name opponent?
I guess it depends on the timing. I like the Benoit Saint Denis call out, though. I guess it made sense. They had their little back and forth. He gave him a new nickname. Like, it's one of the more interesting things you'll ever get out of Gamrot. So why not? if it all tees up. I mean, I assume Benoit Saint Denis is going to fight in Paris in September if they do a card there. I don't know how many people are jumping up and down to go take that assignment. I'm sure Gamrot would. He already said he would, so why not?
Rick, where does this leave Armin, in your opinion? He's just submitted Pitbull over there in a submission match. I mean, he's looking dangerous, but he's also in this position where he didn't want to fight Gamrot, right? That's a tough fight. And obviously they fought before. and he wants a fight that makes sense for him. But he said no to the UFC because he was injured last minute. We know that doesn't really pay off. There's options outside of him. Paddy Pimblett seemingly looks like a better option for Justin Gaethje, and if you're Justin Gaethje, why wouldn't you go Pimblett over Arman, right? So where do you put him in this sort of weird 155 division right now?
He's almost kind of got to take what's left, right? Like he's got to be in a position to take an opportunity as it comes. It seems like, when we were doing the calculus ahead of the most recent lightweight fight, it was who's Paddy Pimblett going to fight if he beats Michael Chandler? Who's Michael Chandler going to fight? Who's Ilia Topuria going to fight if Islam moves up? And now it is kind of all shaken out. Arman is still on the side. Arman is still left out, but so is Justin Gaethje. Paddy Pimblett doesn't have his next fight yet. He's got to just kind of wait and see how the rest of it shakes out. If there's an opportunity to fight a top 5 guy that gets him right back into that title picture in that conversation, take it. It to me seemed like maybe Gamrot wouldn't have been a terrible option. It feels like Arman has advantages there that he could have executed against Gamrot stylistically, and it's at least a name that keeps him floating in that conversation. But I wouldn't be surprised if they need somebody on short notice against a top-ranked guy that call goes to Arman, even potentially a title fight if Arman is one of the options that's there and nobody else can make it to the fight. So I think he's just got to be patient. I don't think you jump at anything too much, and if a Gaethje or Paddy or somebody like that is offered to you, you take it instantaneously and just roll into that fight.
Hey, just quickly, that's a good point, man. I agree. I think you got to stay out there. You got to get the people wanting you back in there. There's so much happening in that division. You could be forgotten about for a while, and so many people that could potentially fight for the belt before him. What about Michael Chandler? Speaking of that division, this guy is still talking about fighting Conor McGregor. Like he put up a date. He put up a date. I think in 24th of January. 2026.
His anniversary with his wife, he said.
Right. So is this okay? So, Mike, is this like someone at the bar that's just like had too many drinks and has approached the girl too many times and is now working for his 10th approach? And are we the boys there just being like, do we watch this happen, or do we tell this guy like, you got to stop now, man? This is a mess. Like, is he actually believing that this fight is going to happen?
I don't know how I feel about it, because like I was supposed to talk to him for something else last week, and he dropped some gold there, tweeted that like a few hours before I was supposed to talk to him. So I was like, okay, of course you got to ask him about it. And he goes into this whole story saying that's like his anniversary with his wife, and he looked it up, and it's actually a Saturday. And they started thinking like the UFC is going to have a new TV deal starting in January. That'll probably be the date of their first pay-per-view or whatever big event. Maybe it's like a Netflix show if it goes that way, something like that. And he just said, I'm kind of putting it out there in the universe. But if you look at the same clip later on, I'm like, is this actually going to happen, do you think? And he's like, if I was a betting man, probably not. But, I'm probably going to be out till later this year anyways. And who knows if things change. But he doesn't necessarily seem like he's hitching his whole, horse to it. But he said he's taken the whole summer off. He's not entertaining any other fights till probably like the end of August or something like that. And then, we'll see. So I guess throw it out there in the meantime. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad. We know this.
Dude, I'll tell you what though, with the thing with Chandler is, right, he's almost like a loss away from being knocked out of the UFC. I mean, like, Rick, you don't think so? Just keep this guy around.
He's our Arturo Gatti. He's here as long as he wants to be. I think, I don't know. I don't see the scenario where he gets to like 8 or 9 losses. I think he would probably retire before then.
Rick, what are we doing with him next? Realistically,
here's why the Conor thing makes some semblance of sense. Because what does it matter, right? If Michael Chandler is calling for something, it doesn't really matter. He's not going to get anything that's notable, right? He's not going to get one of these top guys. He has fallen out of that conversation in this loss to Paddy Pimblett. It is too many in a row. It is now finally shown, okay, Michael Chandler is not at the level of these guys in the top 5, even top 10 at this point. Have a fun fight with somebody, but what does it matter who he's calling out at this point? He's going to get matched with somebody, and he's going to go in there and throw hands. Call out Conor McGregor till the cows come home. At this point, he's so pot committed. If he's sitting at the poker table, he's gone all in 16 times already. He's so pot committed. Just stick with it. what's the point? Like, don't pull the chips back out. You're in. And if Conor McGregor comes back, you know, whatever that line he says about like the road goes through Michael Chandler, like the road goes through Michael Chandler. So just keep at it and keep beating that drum and hope that and pray to the gods that it happens. You, Mike, you said it was his anniversary. Maybe he's looking for that red panty night on his anniversary. shout out to Michael Chandler for still sticking with it. But like for me, it feels like a no win, no loss situation. Pray that Conor McGregor comes back and pray that he's still interested in fighting you. In the meantime, they'll match you up with somebody and you can just throw. To me, Michael Chandler versus Pitbull is a no risk, no like not super high stakes fight that makes a lot of sense for two guys that have done it so long in Bellator and could be matched up with each other. I know Pitbull was coming into 45 and Chandler's been competing at 55, but those guys have fought so many times. Just match them up. It doesn't move anybody up or down. It doesn't take anybody out of the contender conversation, and you get a stylistically pretty fun fight, which have proven to be a good matchup. So that's what I would do. I would just see if he's open to the Pitbull fight and if Pitbull's open to him.
Perfect, man. Well, listen, we have someone that's dropped in quickly to say hello and talk to us a little bit about what's been going on. She was there, of course, yesterday at the big event, always killing it on the broadcasts. It's actually, I don't know, it's been a while since she's been in the building. Megan Olivi.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Megan.
Welcome back to the show. Back to the show.
Thank you.
Have you been on it's been years, right? Since
you've
been
truly.
on the program.
Yeah.
Great to have you on the show. All right, break this down for me just quickly. We were talking about the situation yesterday a little bit at the start of the show. What was it like for you? I mean, it's a very unique experience, right, for a main event to be called off right before it walks out. Of course, you're also working in that moment. You have to find out the information, and also there's a lot of emotion. The fighters are going through it. What was that whole situation like for you yesterday?
Well, I was in a unique position because so we play, as you guys know, we play a feature, so a video about whatever fight is happening before the fighters walk. And as the video was playing, I could hear our producers through my backstage stage manager's headset yelling that something's happening. Maycee was not in position to walk. For those of you who aren't familiar with the way it works backstage, the fighters get told what time that they'll be walking, and then they get warnings throughout the night from our incredible team of operations that handle it. So, you know, they'll say 15 minutes you're walking, 10 minutes you're walking, 6 minutes you're walking, whatever it might be. Maycee was the first fighter to walk, so she would have had a lot of notice about when that was happening. And then, of course, they get her into position. That's where you see the camera kind of start out on them. And so I knew when that main event feature was playing that she was not in position. So I immediately ran, almost 9 months pregnant and all, literally ran backstage to the locker room area, because obviously, you know, she shared a lot of information in fighter meetings about her health. I was on site for weigh-ins on Friday. I was privy to a lot of things that went down. And so I figured something had happened. And so as that feature was playing, I was back there, and I had already seen Hunter Campbell making the walk from Maycee's locker room to Aaron Blanchfield's locker room. So we obviously knew that things were happening. And then as soon as that feature ended, you know, inside the Apex, there were a couple hundred people there. It was silent. And that's when, you know, the first fighter song would hit. And so I think that's when people in there started catching on. I think that's when they were communicating with Brendan Fitzgerald, who then, you know, immediately relayed that message on air. And we were just trying to figure out what was going on. And the number one priority, at least for me, and I think certainly because of not just my job, but my background, is Maycee okay? And so, you know, once we knew that she was all right, or at least okay-ish in that moment, we started trying to figure out things logistically of how we can communicate and find out ourselves what was going on.
That's insane. Like, it's got to be one of the most unique experiences that you've had doing the gig. Was it right up there? Like, do you have any other experiences that stand out apart from this one?
Well, I mean, certainly the Dan Ige situation, stepping in for Brian Ortega, was very much, you know, right there for all of that and kind of in the heart of that, you know, and we were changing what we were saying on air on the fly in terms of, like, you know, prepared scripts for locker room reads and stuff. And so, you know, I interviewed the commission live on air for that, for what was happening. And so there's never a dull moment. Like, you know, we're a traveling circus and it's a well-oiled machine, right? Like, fighters show up and they could have not fought for 2 years and it's still going to operate the exact same way, or they could fight 2 weeks in a row and it would be a very similar experience no matter where in the world you are. However, there's always like a wrench that's thrown into these weekends, and there's always something that happens. And I think that's why the team is the best in the world, is because they can handle whatever's thrown at them.
All right, well, we're going to talk about UFC 316 with the boys, but I just want to get the feel from you. How are you feeling about this coming weekend? Obviously, a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, Sean O'Malley, maybe he doesn't deserve this rematch. We feel like it's just going to look very similar to that first fight. Do you feel like people are kind of overlooking Sean here, this new version of Sean that's healed up, that's been focused on this fight, that's ready to go?
I have a few thoughts on that. I think the first fight was closer than a lot of people are saying. I'm not saying it was razor thin, but I do think it was more competitive than some people are giving it credit for. However, this is how I feel oftentimes in these scenarios. Sean O'Malley is not in charge of matchmaking. He's not sending contracts to people. If Sean lost his title, obviously he wants to get it back. If the UFC is presenting him the opportunity, I don't love that we get mad at the athlete for saying yes to trying to accomplish their dream. It's similar. I mean, the experience that I always kind of harken back to is like people when they got mad that CM Punk signed. Well, is he going to say no to his dream? You know what I mean? Like he's not making the roster. He's not making the matchups. He's not sending legal documents to people. Like, these athletes work so hard and they hope to get an opportunity. Sometimes it works out in their favor. Sometimes the timing's what they want, and sometimes it's not. Most of them have the attitude of, I just have to say yes when this comes across my desk because it might not ever come across again. So I think to see some of the communication from people about, you know, being mad at the athletes in this particular situation is frustrating for me, because what do you want him to say no? Maybe he'll never get that shot again, you know, depending on what happens. And he believes in himself, so why shouldn't he? I think it could be a great matchup. I think the distractions, if that is what makes him feel good, whether it is a difference maker or not, you know, in reality, if it makes him feel like it's a difference maker, then it is. He should be continuing to live that lifestyle that he has, you know, for the past few months. It seems like it's a positive for him, regardless of the outcome of the fight. And I love this fight. I love the women's bantamweight title fight. I think there's a lot to look forward to on this card. And I do think that it could be very intriguing matchups that could go in very different ways.
Last one for me before I let you go, and that is a lot of hate for Julianna Pena. She was on the show. I just dropped the interview. We spoke about the fact that, you know, even though she's accomplished a lot, fans do seem to sort of discount her. They don't seem to really be on her. They talk about how, you know, if Kayla wins, the division is back, this and that. What do you make of all the hate the sort of Pena gets? And also, what do you make of this sort of matchup and people saying, well, you know, if Kayla wins, this is what the division needs. This will save the division. What do you make of all those comments out there?
Man, kudos to Julianna, because she's been counted out for a long time in her career. I remember she was on The Ultimate Fighter, and same season, I think, as Chris Holdsworth, you know, and they were both kind of maybe not expected to win, but she certainly was counted out every step of the way. And then, you know, when she faced Amanda Nunes, it was like record-breaking odds that she was not going to win, and here she was. She continues to show up, and her belief in herself is one of her most powerful weapons. Does she fight technically or, you know, pretty as we see some striker? No, but she doesn't need to. Her style is effective. She figures out a way to win a lot of the time. It's why she's a two-time champion. I don't think that the hate is fair, but I do think it's something we see across the board in our sport. Sometimes a loudmouth person or a brash person, or even just a person with like unwavering self-belief is really hailed in our sport. And then sometimes it's the exact opposite. It's kind of a flip of a coin. I never really understand why certain people resonate in a way and others don't. Julianna is, you know, a really dedicated mom. She treats the entire staff really well. And she works super hard. Maybe it's not the image of, you know, super clean fighting that people want, but it does that matter at the end of the day if the result is a hand raise? It doesn't. So I think, you know, I think the hate is a bit unwarranted, but I think she also plays into it well. She's learned how to kind of harness it for herself. And I think the division, listen, I don't think that there's back or not back depending on who wins. I will say it would be great to see a bit more consistency when it comes to both the title and title contenders at women's bantamweight. Calendar wise, can we see them more often? Can we see it pertinent matchups for that belt more often to kind of keep the division fresh in people's minds?
Love it. As we wrap up, I got to ask you quickly. We're going to be doing a top 3 basketball list later. What's your number 1 favorite basketball movie of all time? Come on.
Basketball movie? I mean, Love and Basketball.
Love and Basketball. I wonder if that's going to make anybody's list. I've got some interesting ones. I'll DM them to you later. But for now, Megan Olivi, thank you so much for joining me. What a pleasure, guys. All the best. Say hi to Joe for us. And you've been killing it. Thanks for jumping on.
Hey, thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, Megan.
All right, so Love and Basketball. I don't know. I wonder if that's going to be in top
It's a solid
list.
pick.
Okay.
That was a bubble movie for me. We'll see if it makes it in.
I got some controversial picks, guys. You guys are going to hate me after this one, but let's quickly talk about some of the stuff that Megan touched on. This is a Julianna Pena hate that's going to be going into UFC 316. I spoke to Julianna Pena about this. The interview just dropped about 8 hours ago. I said, what do you make of everybody being like, Pena, not really giving you the credit you deserve, kind of not really being high on you going into this fight. And also the fact that people are saying, Kayla needs to win here to save the division. Rick, why do you think fans don't really match up with Julianna Pena and don't really get behind? Even she's a tough winner. She's fought some good people. She's been Amanda Nunes.
I think they do. I think she's playing a heel character, and they're falling for it. And they can talk, we quote unquote hate her all they want, but much like Floyd Mayweather and others who have played it even better before her, you are making people have an emotion toward you in a way that nobody else at 135 does. Let's call it what it is. That division absolutely stinks. There's not a person or a personality in it doing what Julianna Pena can do, which is get people to get either invested in a fight, either because they want to see her lose or because they want to see her win in a way that nobody else is doing it. And that includes Kayla Harrison, respectfully. Like, Kayla Harrison is a fantastic athlete, but Julianna Pena is the only one selling fights in that division. And so I think she's doing what she needs to do, and I think people are invested in her. I think people do care and do want to see her potentially fall or succeed. Now, personally, I'm a little bit biased. I love Julianna Pena. She's one of the Parlay boys. I love her to death. And, my allegiances are very clear. But no, I objectively, truly believe that, like, she's one of the only ones in that division, and maybe in all the women's divisions in the UFC, that is making any noise that people seem to care about. Now, granted, she is playing a heel. She is getting people to have those kind of, like, big reactions. But, like, nobody else is doing what she's doing, and so I commend her for it. I don't think I think the hate is intentional.
It's interesting, Mike. I know you spoke to her as well. You guys spoke about the whole PED thing with Kayla. This is what she had to say to me. I want to get your thoughts, fellas. She didn't really hold back on it. Have a listen to this.
I've been fighting since 2013, and never once has PED use ever come up as far as a topic of conversation with any other opponent that I've ever had. Why her? Number 3, I absolutely know for a fact that people, from the stories that I've been told and my own experiences that I've had at ATT, that they were shooting each other in the ass in the bathroom all the time. And so it's not something that is like out of the realm of possibility when I'm being told from their coaches that that's what they do. And that's the kind of games that they run down.
Wow. Not really holding back there. The kind of games that they run down there at ATT.
It speaks to what I'm saying, right? She knows what she's saying there. She knows that this is going to get people riled up, potentially Kayla Harrison riled up. This is the sell. This is the promotion. This is her putting it out there in a way that nobody else is going to come into a fight with Kayla Harrison and say that. Now, maybe they will learn from her lesson and see if that, works and gets her off her game or whatever. But, like, this is what Julianna Pena does. And so this is why I think this idea that, like, the hate is a negative, to me, is off the mark. Like, she is doing this intentionally. She knows she's going to get people riled up when she says that stuff.
Mike, what do you think? What kind of implications does that have? By the way, we've got a comment, a big New York Rick fan in the comments here, huh?
Right on cue.
What do you make of the implications that these comments ultimately have during fight week? Obviously, ATT, you've been there, you've interviewed basically all the key fighters just the other month. Yeah. Does it get to a point where it's like more than just fight promotion? I know Mike Brown had like a response, or is this all just, let's get the fight as many pay-per-view buys as we can these days?
Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to Ali Abdelaziz however long ago, I think he said the same thing to you. Like, this is just fueling the fire, and it's just going to make Kayla want to hurt her more. I mean, you could take it any way, right? Like, if Kayla Harrison and her team wanted to be so offended by this, like, there's defamation stuff you can go. Like, you could pursue that route, but that never happens. PED accusations get thrown around in combat sports like nothing, and basically never have repercussions with it. But Kayla's got her track record, right? And it shows she has never failed a drug test. I spent time at American Top Team, did not see anyone shooting each other in the ass.
What were you doing over there? You came back, you were all muscly?
Yeah, went to Kayla Harrison's house, did not see anything that indicates any foul play going on. So I don't know. I mean, like, it's the way she's building the fight. Is the Kayla Harrison the one here getting like any less hate though, right? Anything you post about her, all the comments are just, she's a man, she's on steroids, like it's all this. So when you're trying to dissect like, heel versus face or anything in women's MMA, it seems like the overwhelming majority of them get talked on negatively regardless of how they present themselves or what they do. So it's a tough sledding in that regard, but I completely agree with Rick when he says Julianna Pena has made herself one of the extremely limited relevant women's MMA fighters that people actually want to watch, whether it's to see her win or get destroyed. So she's doing something a lot of other people in the industry are failing to do. So
yeah, good on him, man. I like to see that. I also am curious to see what we're going to see when Kayla cuts this weight, right, Rick? Like, this is a person that's killing themselves every time they try to make weight to fight. And not only that, but we are not seeing 100% of Kayla Harrison out there. Obviously, the last performance left, something to the imagination. New York Rick, I got to ask you right now, man, what version of Kayla Harrison are we seeing this weekend? She's 34. She's put her body through a hell of a lot. Every single weight cut is that little inch more off whatever it is left, with whatever she can take. Are we going to see an even more diminished version of Kayla Harrison, you think, this weekend?
I think Mike can speak to that specific part better because I'm sure he spent some time with her and talked about that lifestyle change. But every time she's been on our show talking to Ariel, it seems like she's been dedicated to the weight cut in a way that she maybe had not been previously, in terms of making that her sole focus and her lifestyle so that she can continue to make these cuts down to the weight class, whereas before it seemed impossible. I think she's really dialed in on these weight cuts in a way that she wasn't before, and seems to be like focused on that. But as I said, I'd like to hear Mike's kind of opinion on that after. The other thing I'll say is, and we saw Ketlen Vieira win on Saturday, I think Ketlen Vieira is really good, man. Like, amongst 35ers, I don't think she's like, I think she doesn't get the respect she deserves, and the performance by Kayla Harrison was, to me, more impressive than not impressive. I know we're expecting her to just be able to walk through everybody and take them down and submit them or pound them out on the ground. Ketlen Vieira is a really good bantamweight compared to the field, and I think that performance was fine. And I'm expecting her to be damn good when she steps in the cage against Julianna. So I come away thinking like Kayla Harrison is every bit of a championship caliber fighter at 135 and will be a professional and make that weight. But Mike, I'm curious, like, what do you know about how she's kind of like dedicated herself to the lifestyle on that?
Yeah, what do you know, Mike? You were at her house. Did you look through the drawers in the bathroom? What do you know?
No, didn't go that far. She said when I was there, that was mid-April, that she was ahead of schedule when it came to all that. Like one of the days we went there, she said that was her cheat day. Then she was like going out with her friend to go do all that stuff. So,
oh no, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, she was in good shape.
I'm dedicated. I'm off with my friend. We'll be back later, Mike.
Relax.
Here's the piece of my house when you're done.
Yes, again, you can do all the planning, you can be ahead of schedule, but like you can't plan for that final pound, which is going to make the difference, right? Like if your body shuts down on you or stops sweating, that's when it's going to happen, and you can't mimic that, through the training camp. And she's never done it before. She hasn't hit 135 or below. So we'll see. Like, no doubt in my mind, she's doing everything right. Like, we were in there for 5 days, I think, at ATT. She was there 3 times a day, pretty much 2 times a day, like absolutely killing herself. On the one day she didn't come in, she was doing swimming stuff, which she said is like her hardest training every single week and the thing she hates the most. So like, yeah, I mean, there's no way. Maybe, again, medical issues happen. We've seen it all the time. But But like if she's capable and she doesn't get stopped from doing it by someone else, I think she'll hit that weight. How that's going to turn into the performance, I mean, there's no sample size or example, so I really don't know. But I agree with what Rick said too, as far as like, you know, how she's performed in the UFC and Ketlin Vieira. Like even Holly Holm, dude, is a step up in competition from 95% of the people she's fought, a 40-whatever-year-old Holly Holm. So like these are the by far the best people she's ever fighting. You know, Larissa Pacheco's good, but I don't think she was motivated for that last one. So here we are. We'll find out.
I want to go to New York Cricket in a sec, but just follow on from that, Mike. How much longer do you think can Kayla keep this up? Like she's going until late 30s. Come on. We've seen people like Max Holloway, Khabib, like these guys had to go to special clinics to get their bodies sorted after a few bad weight cuts. Yeah. Surely her body's dying.
Yeah, we'll see how much longer what this one takes out of her. I think will be probably very determining, right? So, and especially if she does it, it goes badly and she loses or something, like who knows, maybe we see some sort of big decision there. But again, I think if the dollars are right and the opportunity are right, she'll do it. Like after this, she has to do it again for Amanda Nunes, of course. Beyond that, I don't know. If you're getting to a point where it's like, you know, defend your title against Aylin Perez, I don't know if she is going to be wanting to put herself through that unless they're offering her some crazy, insane money. But she keeps saying, you know, she's set for life times infinity at this point.
That's just what I was going to say. Like after Amanda Nunes, how many more fights do you even care about if you're a fan, right? Like you got one more cut. Yeah. You beat Julianna Pena. You got one more cut, and it's to fight Amanda Nunes. And then it's like,
unless some sort of rematch scenario with Amanda comes into play, whatever it goes. But yeah, like any other fighter out there, no.
Hey, just quickly,
maybe like a cyborg fight, but you're gonna have to do that at 45 anyway, so that's not even the hard cut.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe it does get to that point where, you know, maybe they turn it to like a women's heavyweight and just open it up to a bigger division and she can weigh in at 45 or something, or maybe they, you know, give her that solid and open that division back up. And
I don't have an issue with it. What is 35 doing
Ketlin
right
Vieira
now?
just got a huge win at featherweight last night. So
yeah,
make your case, Rick. What are you saying over there?
For what? For opening
for
up
35, not really cooking the sausage.
There's
like
nothing going on in any of these divisions outside of 25. It seems like maybe 15. We had a little momentum there, but now Zhang is going to featherweight to flyweight, potentially to fight Valentina Shevchenko. What do I need to see these women cutting down to 35 for if they could more comfortably make 45? I don't think that the 35 title is some like prestigious thing that needs to be held up and represented and vaunted in the history books. Like, let them fight at 45. That's what they were doing with Amanda Nunes. She's doing 45 fights that are not adding much to the legacy in terms of anything. And so do it at 45. Let Kayla Harrison or Julianna Pena, quite frankly, because there is another half of this equation. Let Julianna Pena or Kayla Harrison fight at 45. To me, unless there's a 35-pounder that establishes themselves and makes themselves a contender, it's all the same. It's all the same.
Guys, you bring back Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey beat her in judo. She beat her in judo.
I don't know about that.
I'm sure they wish they could do that.
There's a history there. She beat her in judo. Come on, Ronda Rousey.
I'll tell you what.
Kayla, is that a bad fight for Ronda Rousey? Like, it's not the best fight.
But this is how far we have to dig, right?
At this point, probably.
Well, she came back from Amanda Nunes. Why not fight this chick?
I gave her comeback fighter of the
8
year
years
famously.
ago.
I famously gave her comeback fighter of the year for that, and I'll give it to her again if she came back one more time.
Give it to her, brother. Give it to her. Hey, Mike, realistically, how does this fight go? Do you think Kayla can handle this sort of strange, unorthodox, Dricus du Plessis-like storm that Julianna Pena brings into that octagon?
You would think so. Again, I saw a lot of her training with some really good top-level UFC men's fighters, like going pretty damn hard at American Top Team. She was more than holding her own.
Damn.
So, yeah, like, dude, it was scary stuff. So I don't know, again, but we're talking about her, 15 pounds removed from where she's going to be. So that makes all the difference in the world. How is she going to hold up later in a fight? Julianna is obviously insanely tough and hard to put away. So, like, maybe this goes 5 rounds and it's like a 3-2 thing where Kayla does really good in the first 3 and then Julianna kind of storms back later on and makes it competitive and has some moments. But it's hard to go against Kayla Harrison here. But again, I will give Julianna Pena all her respect. She has made us look fools multiple times before, and I would not be surprised if she did it again.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you this, though. In this main event, Rick, I got to get your feel on this first. Sean O'Malley getting the rematch. A lot of people feel like it might be a little bit unwarranted. Maybe the matchmaking isn't that smart. Maybe set him up with someone like, instead of Aldo having that disgusting fight at UFC 315, give him Aldo. Let him sort of have a fun fight. Get him back on his feet. And then use that with a bit of momentum to see what happens in the division. Let's say Corey Sandhagen beat Merab. Then you got, Sandhagen Boblat. Kind of dumb matchmaking, especially they're still getting paid that base pay anyway for the ESPN pay-per-view or whatever. So it's kind of silly. Anyway, this fight is being made. People are saying if he gets destroyed here again by Merab, this could be the end of Sean O'Malley in the division. Luke Thomas was telling me he reckons Sean O'Malley moves up. If he loses in bad fashion here in Merab, break this down for me. How devastating would another destruction loss to Sean O'Malley be in this rematch, especially considering now he's done everything right, going into this one?
I would push back against the matchmaking being bad here because I think Sean O'Malley, I take him at his word that he was at a reduced version of himself. Himself and his coach, Tim Welsh, have been on record, and then he immediately went into surgery following this fight, saying like he was compromised. I believe him, and he had the surgery to prove it. I think he's going to be a better version of himself. Do I think it's enough to beat Merab? No, because I don't think anybody's going to beat Merab in that division. But do I think he will give a better account of himself and make himself dangerous in a way that he was not in that first fight? I do, and I'd want to see it. Because there's not a guy I'd rather see Merab against right now that I feel has a great stake to the fight, that has a claim to it in a way. Like, Corey Sandhagen certainly could be next, but am I clamoring for Corey Sandhagen? No. Like, he just beat Davis and Figueiredo, but I'm okay with this being run back. Then as far as the potential repercussions of a loss here, I've long been saying that Sean O'Malley's most exciting fights are at 45 now. Like, he's done it all. If he can't beat Merab here, he doesn't have a fight claim to being a champion. The only fight at 35, I know people really want to see the Corey fight. I'm okay if I see it or don't. I really want to see the Jan fight again. But if short of that, I'm perfectly fine with Sean O'Malley going up to 45, and I think there's a lot of fun fights you could do. Like Sean O'Malley versus Max Holloway, if Max can make one more cut down to 45, will be an absolute scrap for the ages.
God damn, that's a fight no one's ever really thought about. What?
That's the one for me. Now, granted,
what? When did you come up with this, Rick?
I've been thinking of O'Malley at 45 for a long time because I've pretty much assumed that Merab's going to be the champion for the next 5 years. Like, I just don't see how somebody defeats that style. So yeah, I think 45 is a great option for O'Malley. I don't think this is dire at all. He's got options because of the name value that he brings to any division and the name that he brings to any fight.
Mike Sleeto over here brings up a comment that Luke Thomas made on the preview show that just come out on the channel, by the way. So everybody go check that out. That the only way to beat Merab is by hurting him. You can't worry about the takedown threat. You have to focus on putting big damage on him. Do you think that's the way that Sean gets the win here? Like, is it about hurting Merab as much as possible? How does he win here? It's kind of hard to think about that path for me.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to hurt him, probably. I mean, his best moment was that 5th round, right? When everyone talks about the knee he landed to the body. So, like, you need more of that. You got to have more of those moments than Merab has, I guess, control time or takedowns. Because we've seen, many a time he can be taken down and held down for 4 minutes. And if he lands a good enough shot, he can still win that round. So, like, he needs to be very precise and, get those shots in. But yeah, like, of course, the only way to make it definitive, I think, is to finish him and knock him out. Because even if you do get some of those moments to swing the rounds, like, you're still putting it down to the minds of the judges, and who knows who you're going to get out there in New Jersey on Saturday. So we will see if he can put him away. But yeah, you look at historically, tough guy to finish. He's been hurt a lot of times in the UFC, like the likes of Marlon Moraes and all that stuff. But to actually get him out of there is real, real tough.
Rick, you would have run into some interesting characters in New Jersey on a Saturday. So let me ask you this question. Patchy Mix on the card also. Someone that knows Merab really well, sparred with him, was talking about this with John Wood last week. And they both guys have an understanding of what they're bringing into the octagon. And apparently that's one of the X factors that people don't know about Merab before they step in there. How much of a chance, before we even see what he does against Bautista here, so we're getting ahead of ourselves, but how much of a chance are you giving Patchy to actually make contendership status and potentially be the guy that takes Merab out?
Oh, the guy that takes Merab out, that's where I fall short, because I just don't think anybody takes Merab out. Now, granted, that knowledge that he has of him in the training room probably works to his advantage compared to a lot of other opponents. But I don't think there's enough tape you can run or things you can do to counter what Merab has, which is that insane cardio and the fact that he doesn't need to be effective to win fights, right? Like, he can just shoot for takedowns and doesn't need to complete takedowns to be winning a fight. He can just throw punches and doesn't need to land punches to be winning a fight. He has a very unique style. It's a puzzle that I don't think anybody really has the tools to solve. As far as becoming a contender, I think a super high chance. I think Patchy Mix is one of the best bantamweights on the planet. I think he's going to show that against Bautista, and he's going to be right in that title conversation as soon as he wins that fight. And so I give him a high chance of that. As far as dethroning Merab, I just don't see it. And we've heard how many stories of Gilbert Burns is in the training room with Kamaru, and he's got the secret sauce. And if you talk to this guy, he won those exchanges. I just don't put stock into that. I just like what your performances look like in the cage are what tell me where you're at. And for me, every performance in the cage from Merab is flawless.
Let's say Patchy Mix goes out there, Mike, and just destroys Bautista, just puts him out. Hits him with a Bautista bomb. What do you do with him next, right? Like, John Wood wants to see him have a couple more fights in the division before he gets that contendership status. Obviously, we got Petr Yan, we got Corey Sandhagen. How you book in the division if Patchy Mix comes out on top here? Because you also want to maximize the fact that he's in there, right? You don't want him to just go out there and lose eventually before he gets the contendership.
I guess it obviously depends on who wins the title fight. And, Merab has laid out this extremely ambitious schedule of wanting to be the first fighter to ever have 4 title defenses in a calendar year. And, if he actually can do that, if he could fight again in, September or like August and then December, like, he's going to need people to fight, right? So in that scenario, I could see Patchy Mix maybe walking right into a title fight. Does that mean it would be him next or Corey Sandhagen first? Then maybe he gets at the end of the year. Like, who knows? But I wouldn't rule it out completely. So I think that could be in play for him. But if Sean wins, I think his road is probably a little different. I think they could go to like Petr Yan for Sean, or maybe they do the Sandhagen fight or something like that.
Is Yan booked? Did Yan?
Well, it's fine. He was on a couple of weeks.
Marcus McGee fight. It sounds like it, but even then, that's next month, so it's not like the timeline would be massively different.
He was on a couple of weeks ago, Rick. No one watched the interview. I'll send you the link. It's hilarious. I'm like, everyone's going to be excited for this Petr Yan interview. It's like 2,000 views, and he spoke in English because I worked with him because I speak Russian. So I'm like, dude, you just say the English things. I'll whatever. But one of the things he said about this McGee thing, I might republish it. Maybe someone will actually take notice of it. Is he said that he's the one who wants this McGee fight because he wants to stay active, and there is no way he's going to wait around for Umar in October, and he just wants to fight, and he's a fighter, and he's losing time. And if it's McGee, and he's the one who's keen on just being active, and he'd rather fight any other guy, but he's in this weird like little space, right, where the top guys end up being, where it's like they want to stay active to make money because that's how they make money in their prime, but then they can't fight for like a year because no one's available. So he's just trying to throw McGee in there and try to make it happen. So
well, there's one guy who will fight, and that's Merab. And so if he gets past Marcus McGee, it wasn't a competitive fight, so I'm not dying to see Yan versus Merab. But I think if he can get past Marcus McGee, he's at least in the conversation. And then it comes down to the UFC schedule and timing. If the next guy up is not available, if maybe Corey isn't available, or even Patchy Mix is not available, you can do worse than having Yan headline in a pay-per-view against Merab. So it's all going to be timing, but I understand the perspective, and I get why Yan is like, let me rack up a win here, see what happens, and then wait for it to all happen. Umar versus Yan is a great fight, though. I'm down for it if they can make it happen.
But I think, this kind of goes back to what I said, like on my podcast with Bisbing a couple of weeks ago. Like, it's completely about the timing and fighting the guys in the division. Like, Yan goes out there and he gets a nice finish of Marcus McGee, who's 13 in the UFC's rankings. That does more than him that if he fights Umar and wins like, a super competitive fight just with the timing and all that stuff and having a highlight. So like, he's on the right track. I think that's the mindset more and more of these guys are maybe starting to wake up a little bit on. Like, you got to disregard these numbers a little bit. And if you get 2 wins over guys below you, that's probably worth just as much as 1 over a guy above you at this point.
I got to move things along because my partner's watching the kid and she has to go to work soon. And she's like one of those. But just quickly, New York Crick, off the top of your head, Dillashaw versus Merab. Prime Dillashaw, who wins it?
Oh shit, that's a crazy one. Because that cardio is going to be nice with the EPO. I take Merab. I just feel like as I said earlier, the thing with Merab is he just doesn't even need to be effective. He just doesn't even need to actually land shots or land takedowns. He just has to press you and press you and press you. It's like a pressure making a diamond, right? It's just like a continuous just pressure that all of a sudden creates this incredible effect. And I don't know what the counter to it is. Truly, it's one of the more baffling like puzzles that I can think of in MMA, because there's always a counter for everything, right? For Alex Pereira, it's you make it a little dirty, you take him down, like we saw with Magomed. But like, I don't know what the counter is for Merab. You have to knock him out clean, I guess. But like, how do you knock him out clean?
That's it.
Yeah, I think what it's going to be is like the first person that actually hurts him real bad in the octagon, then there will be a flow and effect in future fights in his strategy, because
sure.
he won't be able to take that damage. But until that happens, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Who you got, TJ or Merab?
Ooh, I'll go with TJ. Just because, yeah, we'll see if he can stop those takedowns. Maybe he has the submission threat too. That alpha male guillotine maybe comes out. Who knows?
All right, guys. Oscar Willis, why are you guys talking about basketball? MMA is flourishing because it's time for the top three. For people that didn't realize, the New York Knicks got knocked out by the Pacers. One of the craziest dance cams, by the way, that I've ever seen. There's a Nick Nolte-looking guy just going like this the whole time. And I got to ask you guys what your top three basketball movies of all time is. Throw it in the comment section, because I didn't realize that there's a real sort of handful of basketball movies that kind of stopped doing them recently, although there's been a couple that have been all right, and actually a couple made my top three. I want to start with number 3 first. Rick, I'm going to go to you first. Make your case. What is your number 3 best basketball movie of all time?
It's a little film called The Sixth Man, and
What?
I don't know if you guys are aware of this. The concept of the movie is that there's these two brothers on a basketball team. The star brother, the better brother, dies in a basketball accident. And his ghost helps the other brother, who's played by Marlon Wayans, become the star of the team and lead them to the promised land. And then obviously at the end, you get the cliche of like the brother checks out and then they win the game on their own merits and they celebrate together. But it's a ghost brother who dies in a basketball accident, helping his brother be the star basketball player, starring Marlon Wayans. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. It means so much to me. I saw it in theaters.
Look at this. Is this after the Bruce Willis movie, like The Sixth Man?
The Sixth Sense? I think it's before. I think it's
Yeah,
even
it says
before.
Wow, so they ripped
1997,
that.
so-
They ripped that off. Someone watched that and like, hey, we should put Bruce Willis in this one. All right, Mike, what's your number 3, my friend?
Okay, I'm wondering if this qualifies. It's half
see.
basketball movie, half
Air Bud,
baseball
isn't it?
movie.
Okay.
Anyone seen basketball?
Qualifies.
It counts for
yes.
me.
It counts. Okay, we put it on there. If it wasn't allowed, I was gonna go with Love and Basketball. That was maybe if you weren't gonna accept it, I would have thrown that in there.
What's it? Make your case for this. Why is this number 3?
It's just an amazingly hilarious movie, and I remember just being captivated by the entire premise of it when I was younger and it came out. Of course, like, you know, same guys who created South Park or the actors in it, and they're just, I don't know, I haven't watched it in a while. I don't know if it still holds up here in 2025, but I feel like it does. That's I don't know, just my brand of terrible comedy.
I've never seen New York Rick so adamant about something old show until we got to basketball. What about
It holds up. It's the best. It's incredible.
better than Orgasmo?
Shout out John Leguizamo, right? But yeah, basketball is incredible.
All right, number 3 for me, Coach Carter. Right, I'm going to get straight into it. I don't know about you guys. I grew up on the basketball court with the guys you need, hang out there during the day, do the whole thing, and we were all basically trying to replicate Coach Carter in our own little ways. There's always like a problematic guy that, you know, is on the verge of going to jail, and there's always this guy. There's always the guy that's broken, and there's always that coach. You always look at the coach like maybe they will be a secondary father figure to me. We really loved Coach Carter, so I've got to put it number 3 for me. Samuel L. Jackson, you know, this is before he had the eye patch. Was pretty good basketball coach. You know, I'd probably bring him in there, bring him into a UFC corner sometime, see what he could do. Definitely better than David Goggins, I reckon.
I feel like millennial into like Gen Z like Coach Carter a lot. I feel like that's a solid like younger demo pick. That's a real good pick for that.
For sure.
I appreciate. Sorry, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say, should I spill beans with my number 2, because that you led right into it. So
Ooh, spill beans. All right, well, hit us with your
it's
number
Coach
2
Carter.
first.
I had Coach Carter at number 2. I feel like that had to be the one. That's, I don't know, for me, like you said it great, Rick. I think you're a few years older than me, so I think you're speaking like right to my generation there. I thought growing up this wasn't only like one of the best basketball movies, it's one of my favorite sports movies, period. And obviously, yeah, Samuel delivers an epic performance in that one, so easy.
What about you, Rick? What do you got cooking for number 2?
Number 2, Blue Chips.
Okay. Well, Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte, coach, just the troubled, coach who's going through it, trying to hold the stars together. Real Shaquille O'Neal, real Penny Hardaway, fresh out of college into the NBA, playing the characters. The scenes were actual basketball shot. You will not get better basketball than this because it was high-level basketball players playing the actual basketball. And it's an incredible film. The acting performances out of the NBA guys was not bad either. And Nick Nolte really brought it. I'm showing my age a little bit. You guys are going Coach Carter. I'm going back to the 90s because I'm a fucking washed old man. But blue chips for me.
No, you don't wash yourself, Rick. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, let me tell you this. That's the interesting fact about that movie is that's where Shaquille O'Neal met Penny, I'm pretty sure, and then realized that they had a good relationship, which then brought him over to the Magic. So that movie actually, that movie actually did a lot. Like that actually helped almost create this crazy dynasty where these guys were supposed to win a bunch of stuff. And let's not talk about what happened after that because it's ridiculous. But these guys were on their way to being one of the greatest, and it's partly thanks to this movie. My number 2, fellas, is, and this is you guys are gonna beat me up here. And before you start throwing punches at my face, let me just quickly say it. Like Mike, come on. I saw this at the cinema with my mom. I was young when I watched it. Little Bow Wow stole my heart. It's got that ginger guy who's really, really good. He's married to someone good. What's his name?
I don't remember his name.
Ginger guy. Looks like he's got no soul. He's in Friday Night Lights as well. He went on to be like in all the big movies. Anyway,
Jesse Plemons.
Oh, yes, Jesse Plemons is in that.
Jesse Plemons plays the bully.
Friend.
Yep. The bully. He plays the bully with no soul. Anyway, love the movie. And it got me thinking about, can I get the pair of shoes to make me play better? Because I was historically a terrible basketball player. I just thought it was like a great way to take basketball, flip it into a kid's movie. I think it did pretty good at the box office. That's my number 2. All right, go on, guys. Throw the punches. Come on.
My story was the same, but yeah, it did not. I probably would have had that like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Okay, here's my devil's advocate. Doesn't there have to be some like decent basketball in a basketball movie? Like, there's no basketball in that movie. He's just flying around like in the fucking magic shoes. It's not real basketball.
There's a lot of NBA actors in there as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're the standard of the other one, but.
Hey, listen, if Air Bud can be a basketball movie, someone said in their top that 17 again as a basketball. Well, 17 again. I watched that the other night. Good basketball. What about you? I'll go to you, New York Rick. What is your number 1?
This was an easy choice for me. Had to be. It's my favorite. It's one of the best movies ever. He Got Game. He Got Game. Jesus Shuttlesworth. Denzel Washington. Yeah. The story of Denzel Washington legitimately playing against Ray Allen and Ray Allen getting pissed and caught off guard because he's trying to score buckets on him, and that's what we see in the movie, puts it at a level that's just absolutely ridiculous. Also, the Jesus Shuttlesworth character is based on like the Stephon Marbury, Coney Island, New York kind of upbringing, and so it had to be He Got Game. Spike Lee joint, incredible, like the best, one of my favorites. And then you get the college scene where he's with the porn stars in the bed when he's on the college visit with, I think it was Rick Fox who's showing him around. Just all timer.
Is that the best Spike Lee joint?
It's my favorite. He certainly has ones that I think would be better regarded because I think this was more of like a popcorn flick than some of the other stuff he's done that's a little more serious and culturally relevant. But for me, it's my favorite.
Yeah, I love Inside Man. That's a popcorn flick.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great
one. Mike Bohn. You kind of remind me of Clive Owen in that movie, when he takes the bag.
Guys, did you know Clive Owen's like 65 years old or something like that?
Dude, but Clive Owen, make your run, brother. Make your run. I'm still waiting for it. God, after that movie, man, I memorized that dialogue word for word and did it in like a little like acting thing and nothing. Anyway, we all know your name, but we don't know why you're here, Mike Bohn. Give us the number 1 pick.
Yes, it's the same. It's he got game. We did not have a basketball team in Vancouver for long. I think for only a few years of my life. Then they took them away from us, the Grizzlies. So we had to resort to driving down to Seattle to watch the Supersonics play. And Ray Allen, when he was there, was one of my favorite players. And I didn't discover this movie until after I had kind of been like, I love this guy. And then, came across it and I was blown away. And yeah, an all-timer movie. Easy number one.
You know what I love about this? You guys kind of worked a little bit with the NBA. Like, Rick, I know you worked with ESPN for a while, so you would have been around it a bit. And Mike, you were actually reporting on it. So I love the fact that you guys actually got a chance to get down there.
We got right behind us. An MJ.
Is that real?
Yeah, it is real.
Damn.
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
It's a long story. We'll tell. Behind there, that one's Kevin Garnett, too. Signed by this one. We got lots of basketball. So we could do a whole other show.
They brought Paul Pierce down here one year to do that Izzy fight.
I remember that.
And I got a chance to meet him. It was like the craziest day of my life. It was the best day of my life. Not as good, though, as when I watched my number one pick. Drum roll, please, as you guys prepare to kick me on the ground after beating me up for my second pick. Space Jam, come on. Space Jam. I was young, guys, when this came out. But I rewatched this movie very regularly. I have a 3-year-old at home. And I got to tell you guys.
Congrats on the sex.
Thank you. It happened once, and I don't think it's going to happen again for a while. But especially with my partner being late for work now. But Mike's pretty good at acting in this movie, right? Like, I think we saw the LeBron James one was like so shit. Like, I don't know what you guys thought about it. I found it to be so stupid.
It definitely gets elevated by Space Jam 2, Jam 1.
Yeah, Bill Murray's in it. Newman is in it. I love the fact that, like, in this movie, Michael Jordan's home is like in the suburbs, like this little house with this wife, and he's really out there just like smoking cigars, banging hookers, like owing money to the mob behind the scenes, like, bagging out Australian teammates and then not putting them into his documentary on Netflix, and then doing follow-up documentaries here in Australia to make up for it, and also crying because of it. Anyway, long story short, I love the animation, right? The old school animation. They didn't F around with it too much. Danny DeVito was in it. I reckon it still stands as a great little kids movie. I don't know.
The key to that was they didn't make Jordan try to act. They let the tunes be the tunes, and he didn't have to do heavy lifting. Way too much acting out of LeBron in that second one. Just not capable. Great basketball player, the best basketball player, I would argue. Not a good actor.
Maybe put John Jones in a kids movie. Maybe that's how we make it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
the Jones home. It's in suburbia. There's no,
the John Jones biopic with some kids.
Disney.
Good choices. Good all around.
Mike?
No, I'm happy with these lists. I don't have much objection. Space Jam was an all-timer as well.
All right. Well, listen, as we wrap up, I just want to quickly mention you guys are killing it. Obviously, a big week coming up on MMA Junkie and on Crown. The boys in the back, Rick, dropping this week. Can you give us a little taste? What's happening? What are you guys going to be breaking down?
We'll just preview UFC 316. And we're going to have some great in-studio guests on the Ariel Helwani show. He hasn't revealed the lineups yet, but we're going to have quite a few people coming to the studio this week. Ooh. And then Saturday, join us on the YouTube channel.
You guys do the awesome watch. Yeah, the watch along. And you guys do the preview show and a post show, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do all of it. So join us on that channel and watch the fights with us.
I love to watch New York Rick's face when it's like he's been on there for a few hours and he's just sitting on that couch. And we've all been there, Mike. We are like, shit, bro, like my brain is dead and I've still got another 4 fights to get. Like, we've all been in a post-fight show and you're like, you've already had 12 coffees, like we've all been there. But dude, you do it so well. I love the vibe that you guys do it. Obviously, MMA Junkie as well. You guys have a pre-show, post-show, but the Bonfire as well dropping this week. Mike, what do we got on the big show?
We're gonna have Dominic Cruz to preview. Yeah, all
big get up to big get.
Bantamweights. Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be his debut on the program, so that'll be a fun one.
You're taking all of us down, Mike. One great Bonfire at a time.
We're trying.
Love it. So check out the Bonfire, of course. That is one of my favorite news shows that's out there. And, of course, you'll be down there, UFC 316, doing your thing, asking your questions.
No, we're off the road team for now. We're in the studio. Like's a little less chaotic, but I would have loved to see you there.
No, I can't wait to go, Mike.
No, I was going to say maybe we'll cross paths one way or another.
Yeah.
Oh, we will cross paths, my friends. And that is the episode of Submission Radio Morning After. Mike, Bohn, New York Rick. Top 3 basketball picks. UFC 316 dropping this week. Check out the Luke Thomas preview show. Submission Radio live later on in the week. Julianna Pena, interesting interview, talks about PEDs. That is us, and we are out. Thank you so much, guys. Are you still with